I've given my take about debate bros and Twitch debates and online debates and everything like that, especially in the wake of the Steven Crowder versus Sam Cedar stuff. But today what I want to talk about is about the value of online debates and how important they are. I also want to give my own criticisms of online debates and online debaters and talk about why these things are good, how they work, how they influence people, because I have testimony from my own followers on Twitter, because I asked for it, about how these debates have influenced their own politics. And then I also want to get into my own problems with this format, and not only the format, the culture around political Twitch, debate streams, because I feel like there's some limits there, and I also feel like, there are some other areas to criticize how people often conduct themselves in these debates. I'm going to plug my social medias and Patreon for about a minute. If you don't care about that, please skip forward. Before we get any further, a lot of my work on this channel is demonetized because when you're covering more serious, sometimes edgier topics, YouTube doesn't like this. So if you've ever enjoyed my work, please consider becoming a patron. And you don't have to pledge a crazy amount. I want to build up my Patreon based on as many people as possible pledging little amounts, like $1 or $2. So if you feel like I have ever brought anything that's worthwhile into your life and my content, please really consider becoming a patron to help me continue to do this, regardless of if YouTube monetize or not most of my videos in a given month. Also, if you want to join our communities, come check out our Discord and my subreddit. Those links in the description. And if you want to follow me personally, please check out the Kavernacle at Twitter, at Instagram, and also my personal Reddit, where you can keep up to date with all my content and what I'm doing. For every 5k, we get a new chocolate orange. I'm currently on 35. Let's please hit 40k, let's say by November or something. My 26th birthday. If you want to catch my own live streams, Tuesdays and Thursdays, and I archive those on the Kavernacle Extra. So like I mentioned at the start, the Steven Crowder, Sam Cedar debate, which wasn't much of a debate, happened fairly recently, and it was hilarious. It was funny.
The point that you made
at the beginning of
Joe Rogan,
yeah, Joe Rogan and Dave Rubin and Jordan Peterson and Noam Chomsky and Sam Harris. Everyone's been avoiding.
And not just attempting to get your audience by jumping in. Want to do it?
Let's have
Sam,
the debate.
come on. I'll tell you what. I have a general.
Steven, you are such a coward. Stop showing your little leprechaun co-host who comes out dressed like your sidekick.
Come on, Ethan. Why do you have to bring on
Show Steven?
And it also showed how the right-wing debaters are actually just, full of rubbish, in that they will not debate unless they totally control the platform, or they'll just go for easy targets. I covered all this stuff in the video. Steven Crowder, of course, became famous for the Change My Mind series, heavily edited, of course, when he loses or someone makes him look bad, that never appears in the video. Ben Shapiro would primarily target college students, and there's loads of videos about him owning them with facts and logics and, owning the socialist college students. Now, you're probably not going to catch Ben Shapiro on a Vaush or Destiny stream anytime soon because, like I said, these guys only participate when they control the narrative. Someone like Ben Shapiro can't even handle an interview with one of the most prominent conservatives in the UK, Andrew Neil. We all remember that, meltdown on the BBC. But of course, we can't really talk about online debate bros without talking about Vaush and Destiny. So I want to talk about Vaush first because he's responded to criticisms of the debate format. And people have said that these debates are pure spectacle for teenagers, essentially. They don't change anybody's mind. They don't do any good at all. They're just for people to feel good about themselves, inflate their ego, everything like that. So let's quickly take a look at this Vaush video.
Anyway, not to exaggerate, but every political debate stream is pointless. Okay, they're extremely meaningful for teenagers who say Pog IRL, I concede. There's possibly worse ways they could be wasting their time, though none jump to mind right now. There's this widespread perception that that like the debate bro live stream thing isn't really a valid medium, period. And it's weird to me because, one of the things that I was taught, and this goes all the way back, I was learning this back in like early college, like how do you build a good movement? And one of the ways you do that is through diversity of tactics. That's really, really important. Because people are different, even if you all share the same political values, people are really different. People who like really aggressive, angry debate stuff. I mean, the ways in which a person can be exposed to leftist ideas are about as diverse as the ways in which humans have been communicating for thousands of years. That's why lefties care about making sure that movies and video games and stuff have progressive messaging, you know? I'm very confident that what I do does good, and I'll talk about that. Whether you like it or not, Sean and everyone else, 3-hour-long analytical YouTube essay videos are not the only way to move people left. They're not the only format worth investing in. What actually moves people over is something a little punchy. For most people, I think. They need like a little jolt, they need a hook, something to get them interested in a point of view, something to thoroughly delegitimize an opposing point of view. The idea that debate content doesn't move people over is patently incorrect. But I find there are a lot of people who want to say it doesn't do anything because they don't like me and they don't want to believe that what I do does anything, you know? Which I think is a really counterproductive attitude to take when it comes to trying to move people over. The fact of the matter is, you need diversity of tactics because it's the only way you can maximize the number of people that you can bring over to your side. And most people aren't going to like Debate Bro content, but some people are. And for those people, I think it's important we have an avenue for them. Obviously, a skill to rhetoric. And whether you like it or not, rhetoric is kind of how you move people over on positions. But I know that some of the debates that I've done, generally speaking, lead to a lot of good. Some of it is because people get moved over to my side. And some of it is because there are people who are already on my side who have been emboldened in the views they already have.
So there he talks about like the numerous ways you can watch this stuff and how, you know, he knows personally, people have emailed him, that he has both given them techniques to debate other people or debate certain issues. And he also says their rhetoric has like exposed them to new ideas and pushed them leftwards. Now, people might, you know, scoff at that, say that's not true, but it is true. It's just the fact, and I'm going to get into it now. So on Twitter, I put out a tweet telling people to message me if they have been influenced by political debates. Now, they don't just talk about Vaush here, but we're going to go through these people and just talk about, you know, the various ways they've been influenced. So I'm going to start with Tristan McKinstry, who says, hope QT thread counts as a reply. There are 3 for me. The main one would be the second debate between Vaush and Sargon. While I was never a Sargon fan, I know a lot of the skeptic YouTubers I were watching were cordial with him in the very least. I considered myself kind of like a sock dem at that point, but I didn't think I'd agree with a lot of Vaush's points because I was still under the impression that socialism was bad. But that debate made me want to look into the issues myself, and I found myself moving further left. And through this desire to look into the issues myself, I felt I had a better understanding of what was going on in the world. And it gave me the confidence to push against the conservative beliefs that everyone in my family and a lot of my friends held. And the Vaush Destiny versus Allsup striker debate, I did watch Allsup when I was an anti-SJW, and while I never fully agreed with him on everything, I did find him to be just a moderate conservative. Seeing Vaush and Destiny destroy him and seeing the shit he was espousing with a different view on life and politics, it just made me more steadfast in my shift to progressivism, and it made me wish I could have woken up sooner than I did. Someone else says, yeah, I was convinced by debates like the previous person said with Vaush's early stuff. It helped me get over my hang-ups after being taken out of the alt-right pipeline by Contra and Michael Brooks, rest in peace. And you, the Sargon debate kind of put the nail in the coffin. Sargon took me centre-left to centre-right, Contra took me from SocDem, and Vaush took me full socialist and almost ANCOM. Someone else, Big E, on Twitter, Vaush has influenced my politics by recognising the difference between what I believe ideologically speaking versus what we should advocate for now to push people left. One may be an anarchist, but does that mean we can get there right now and nothing else is important until then? No, I wish I could tell you a debate. They're not as effective for me personally, though I enjoy watching them. It's the other segments he does, and most importantly, his Politics 101 videos that made me understand politics and philosophy more than I did the time I saw them. Another person, Cynical, saying, I can't point to any specific debate, but I was a libertarian. When I first came across Vaush, I was already questioning my libertarian beliefs, however, and despite the stereotype of ex-libertarians becoming Vaush fanboys, I actually started reading theory and watching others, so like I'm a weird middle where I don't really know how to feel about the whole debate thing. Would I have gotten into the theory and other creators without Vaush? Probably eventually. Does it have an effect on people who aren't already questioning their beliefs? I don't know. Base Tortle saying, watching Vaush turn me into a leftist, I was raised a lib, and his discussions concerning socialism made me realise how exploitative the current system is, specifically capitalism versus socialism debates with smarter liberals like Bastiat pushed me left. Nomad saying, I've definitely been emboldened by debates. It's one tactic among many for convincing people, and we shouldn't try to limit ourselves when reaching out or giving confidence to our own side. Basically, a debate is a test for your idea. It's tested through questions by the opposition. I can't think of a specific debate, but I have advice for how I'd like debates to be in the future. I really want debates to be formalised, and I want to get back to this a bit later. The worst thing about the debate is people shouting over each other. One person's mic should be muted while the other person talks. Someone else, Better Left, also saying Destiny and Vaush debating Eric Stryker and James Allsup helped me fully understand the right-wing talking points around Black Lives Matter and systemic racism and what those conspiracies look like when pushed on intelligently. I miss the left-wing unity. All the infighting is so boring. Randeep saying, one of the most valuable things about this medium is that it equips viewers with good arguments which can work elsewhere. I was left enough when I got into them, but I did gain a lot of good talking points that have made me better advocating for what I believe in. Stephen Crowder's Armpit saying, Sam Cedar versus basically anyone. I find debates effective if they're done well because it helps give yourself the ability to conceptualize and argue what you believe. By seeing someone else do it, I can adopt their talking points into my own to advocate better. Also, Vaush's debates he had with Dem Exiters like Nico House after Bernie dropped out in 2020 helped pull me out of the possible doom spiral of accelerationism. They didn't have a coherent argument and it made me realise how foolish they were. Vaush, I think, is really important because he debates with class reductionist Nazbol and tanky types, really drew the line in the sand in terms of differentiating between leftists and authoritarian leftists. Also, he may be responsible for pushing public right-wingers left. So it's not surprising I got a lot of positive things said about Vaush, considering that when I look at my analytics, a lot of my audience also watch him and like Hassan and stuff. But I guess they make good points there, is that, you know, it helps you, just like Vaush said as well, it helps you frame this stuff well yourself. If you don't have the rhetorical skills, if maybe you haven't been educated enough on these topics, so it's a good gateway for people. And like these people said, you know, they said Vaush has changed their mind. They went into his content thinking one way, he pushed them further left, or he made them switch from libertarian to social democrat or socialist and stuff like that. But just like debates throughout history, I guess it is good at getting people who are undecided or maybe not sure on certain points, or maybe, you know, don't know how to counter right-wing framing of these things. It gives them a good insight into how leftists think on these things. And if you like him or hate him, Vaush is a pretty good debater for the most part, but I'm going to get into my own criticisms later. But I also want to get into my problems with online debate culture. And I think the one debate that shows this problem more than any other is Richard Wolff versus Destiny. So this is a really interesting one to me, because here is, you know, a professor who's taught at like Yale debating a guy who's just been famous for debating anyone online, some guy who is a liberal, right? And it's also very interesting for, you know, the reaction I saw online, because people were saying Destiny won or Richard Wolff won based on very different criteria. And although this debate was perfectly formal and nice, like it wasn't something like divulging into a massive shouting match, I think it shows a lot of problems and I guess the limitations of online debates. So I want to play you a quick clip to get into the main criticism that Richard Wolff would dance around the question and just talk forever.
Okay, in the 3 minutes I have, I cannot speak as fast as you just did, so I won't even try. I'll try to make a couple of basic points. Every economic system in the history of the world displays the following pattern. It is born, it evolves over time, and then it dies and passes away, giving way to another one. And part of that process has always been the conviction of the people in each economic system that sooner or later they can, they should, and they will do better, overcome some of the problems and difficulties they're facing, and organize a system that better meets human needs.
As of March 2021, Americans rank the economy, job markets, the handling of the coronavirus, and leadership in Washington as the four most important challenges facing our country. Socialist policies would not alleviate any of these concerns. Countries have tried the socialist experiment. Time and time again, this has failed. Doctors in Cuba moonlight as taxi drivers. Countries with socialized healthcare haven't fared much better than the U.S. in their handling of the coronavirus. And any socialist regime will necessarily involve the bureaucracy of Washington even more heavily in our economy. Any country that has attempted to realize a fully socialist economy has either failed completely, such as in the case of the USSR, destroyed large swaths of their economy, such as in Venezuela, or been forced to embrace more neoliberal economic policies to realize true growth in their economy, such as in China or Vietnam. Liberal market policies work better in both theory and practice when it comes to efficiently allocating resources to maximizing the economic productivity of any country, and we've seen this play out time and time again across a wide variety of markets and countries throughout history across the globe. Oftentimes, people like Richard Wolff will bring up the boom-bust cycle as though it's an inherent flaw of capitalism, but I believe I speak for most when I say that a boom-bust cycle is preferable to just going bust, as so many socialist countries have.
I find this a laughable caricature of anything I've ever written or anything that I understand is part of this conversation. And I don't appreciate being told what I think or what I say or what I mean or what I intend. I can speak for myself, and that would just be fine if we could allow each other to do that. Number one. Number two, I have no idea what this silly remark that I hear so often is, that no socialist society has succeeded at anything. I have no idea what you're talking about. When it comes to socialism, it would be useful if we all understood what the word means rather than playing around with caricatures. For example, the notion that socialism is all about what the government does has been contested throughout the history of socialism. And that idea is less dominant within the socialist tradition now than it ever was over the last 150 years.
So you've seen that there, and why people think Destiny won is because he was just better at the online debate. His answers were quicker, he would make quick comebacks, he would be more snappy and stuff. Obviously, he's been debating for years online. But I think that shows the difference. Now, for me, who do I think won? I think Richard Wolff won, but I also think if you're watching this debate, the value you get from it is from listening to this guy speak. Now, like I said, I'm not a big consumer of online debates. I don't really care. Before I became really involved in online leftism and YouTube, I, went to do my history undergrad. I did my master's in international relations. So I'm a massive lover of this really academic stuff and real deep dives into these things. So when I listen to Richard Wolff talk and I, listen to his massive overview, and he does speak for a long time, I really appreciate that, because here I'm watching two people argue, but I'm not only watching two people argue, I feel like I'm getting a bit of an education from Wolff here. And I think that's because he's coming to this debate from a more academic perspective, and he's kind of trying to do it like an academic debate, right? So he's trying to really shore up his argument, overwhelming argument, talk about themes that have gone throughout different periods of history, try to really contextualize what he's saying. But the fact so many people think Destiny won, I think shows the problem with online debates, is that I guess to a lot of people online, if you watch Destiny, Vaush, and these other debaters, he did win, because Richard Wolff just didn't seem to hammer home his argument as well as Destiny. And that's just a general problem with the format of debates, is that it's not always based on the information, it's based on, your skill as a debater. But for me, Richard Wolff did really well. In my mind, he won, but I like that longer style of debate. I like that more academic debate where I feel like I'm learning. But of course, I'm coming to this from outside the online debate spectrum. It's not something I traditionally watch apart from things like this. And that's why I feel like sometimes people have a problem with online Twitch debates, because the substance isn't always that good, because who wins in these debates isn't always based on the substance. Now, of course, you might be saying, there's loads of substance. They cite studies, they cite different theories. Yes, I know that. But they do not debate in the same way Wolff does. I like these long takes a bit better, and I'm not just coming purely for the entertainment angle. And if you like these debates as entertainment, there is no problem with that whatsoever. But I think that also plays into people not being convinced politically, because a lot of these debates actually do turn into who has the most edgy retort, or who is owning the other person and stuff like that, rather than both laying out their understanding of the issues and debating them, and you deciding who had the better points. Now, talking about the spectacle and the entertainment factor, of course people tune into this stuff not just for, you know, getting their political news or watching two political ideologies go at it. Of course they come for the entertainment factor. And they can be quite funny, like Vaush versus Mike from PA, people absolutely loved, because Mike clearly really doesn't like Vaush, and he was having, you know, a tantrum, he was melting down a bit. I'm going to play you some of that right now.
So if you actually watch Like a Man, you are in no position to talk about manhood, my rat-faced little friend. So let's focus first and foremost on the first point that you made. You can slap me around. You can slap. You're actually resorting to like keyboard warrioring.
You just said that I'm a rat face.
Dude, we all wait. Why would you say that? We all know what you look like. We all know what you look and act like in person. Just walk away from it. Say, yeah, it was spite. I don't like Destiny.
Alpha males are real? Are you? Do you think that alpha and beta?
You know,
males
I used to, but then I saw your stream, and no, I don't think so anymore.
Okay,
that belief has been utterly destroyed.
Thank you for that, man. You're worse than Mitch McConnell. All right.
What?
Omaha.
And of course, to the audience, that's pretty hilarious, because no matter who has the better point in this instance, because Vaush is staying calm and Mike is having a bit of a meltdown, Vaush just looks infinitely better. Now, one of the most notorious Vaush debates in recent time was against Mel. Now, I've been on a panel with Mel once before when I just agreed to do one random Twitch panel, didn't know anyone on the stream. And Mel is not like a big Twitch streamer or anything, just post stuff on Twitter, and she's in like the tanky sphere. And because like I'm an English, leftist, I feel like I follow people who are both more like hardcore Marxists and more like American-style socialists like Vaush and some others. So I saw these like infighting, and I saw these arguments about, you know, people saying Mel is so horrible and deserves all the abuse, people saying that Vaush is, you know, horrible person for doing this thing. But I think this shows how bad debates can sometimes be for a conversation or changing people's mind. So a lot of Marxists, Twitter and online Marxists don't like Vaush. I see him as like a, you know, imperialist, a sock dem. So when he had Mel on, you already have like two sides forming. You have the more, you know, hardcore left side, you have the more like American left side. And honestly, this debate made me pretty uncomfortable because it felt like a bit of an ambush. And what I want to get into is power dynamics. So Mel, like I said, is not a big streamer, YouTuber, just has like 10,000 followers on Twitter, I believe, while Vaush has this massive audience, very, very famous in the online world. So already you have a massive power imbalance there. And then, of course, why it became notorious, because Mel got loads and loads and loads of harassment afterwards.
As somebody who despises the people who live there.
How am I anti-Korean if I'm Korean, Vaush?
Any truism? How am I anti-Korean if I'm Korean? Did I see it? Candace Owens, can we get a round of applause for this wonderful brain in chat? Please. You kidding me right now? Are you with me, Mel?
So I'm Candace Owens. I'm a liberal.
You don't understand. You can't fathom.
I'm a red fash. Like, you're just using words, Vaush. Like,
yeah. I didn't know you were anti-Korean people. That's really disgusting.
Why would I be anti-Korean when I'm Korean?
I
care
them.
more.
Now, Vaush's own audience criticised him for this as well. So this isn't just me from the outside criticising him. His audience criticised him. So there's a couple posts I want to read here. So someone says, my good faith criticism of Vaush with regards to the Mel debate. I think Vaush doesn't understand that the tactics at work on bringing right-wing people leftward don't work that well on tankies. I think a different optical strategy would be a lot better when debating tankies. Like, I think it works great for debating liberals and right-wingers and can change the minds of people watching. But to tankies, he just came off as exactly what they already stereotyped him as. And I think that's a good point, because his debate tactics were like quite childish. It was like personally insulting Mel. He was turning off her mic and stuff. Again, I don't think that's really helpful for this online debate, which seems to be effective in changing people's minds when you're doing this, because like this post says, you're just, you know, being what they think you are. Anyway, a really upvoted post about 100 days ago said, Vaush debates have been getting worse. A good faith critique, 13 awards, 1.4k upvote. So talks about the Mel thing here. So the Mel tanky debate. Mel is a Twitter user with 7k followers. At the point of this debate, for most audience members, the debate is the first introduction to her. Vaush failed at priming the audience for the politics in person Mel is, especially the YouTube video. doesn't even have his prior comments on Mel edited in. The muting of your debate opponent has to be done only after a long time of interruption. Vaush's use was extremely cringy and unearned. The very strict approach of leading the entire discussion, especially in the beginning, was very uncomfortable. He could have just let her explain and then pin her on the Pepe posting. The posturing and ad homs are again not earned because Vaush came in too aggressive. Making a follow-up video on why the audience's first impressions are actually wrong is not how debates work. You can't just after the fact shit on Mel's debate tactics. You have to point them out in the moment if they bother you. So I think that's a really good point, and it's talking about, you know, the different tactics he used. So I've watched like a fair few Vaush videos, and I've been researching for this video, and normally he comes across okay. He is meant to be more edgy, but like I said, even when I watched this at the time, it made me uncomfortable because he was just so hostile straight away. And of course, divulging into like personal insults, talking about America, dabbing on North Korea, whether he just said that to try and get under Mel's skin. Of course, not a great look when people are labeling you an imperialist. And then I just felt like it bred so much toxicity. And because of the power imbalance, he made like 3 videos on this, I think. And they've all got like over 100k views. And again, this drama is all about one person who only has a minor Twitter following. And you've kind of got to think, especially if you're leftist, are you really going to direct all that abuse to someone? I've had a lot of right-wingers make videos on me. Arch Warhammer, Sinatra Says, a couple other people. When you're a small channel getting absolutely dogpiled by someone of a different ideology, it's really, really not a nice thing. I just feel if you're debating someone who's so minor and you really want to like destroy their ideology and you already have this power imbalance, being really toxic about it is just not going to change anybody's mind, and it makes you feel sympathy for the other person. And if you're trying to debate this person and completely destroy their ideology, why do you want to make everyone feel bad for them? Because you just haven't debated them in good faith. Now, like I said, I've watched a fair few Vaush debates at this point. He doesn't always do this. He's fairly respectful in other conversations. But for this one, it just felt like because he personally really didn't like her, it was just a bit of an ambush to get her on and then basically just throw personal insults and stuff while trying to debate her ideology, which just make the whole debate pretty worthless in my opinion, because no one who agrees with Mel or is more leaning to Mel's ideology is going to have their minds changed. And Vaush has talked about how he does important work in this regard. So I feel like if you want to do that, you've got to be a bit better. And I guess the main thing for him, he just has to be more consistent, and he has his own audience giving him a big criticism of his debating tactics lately. To end this video, I just want to give my overall opinion on this stuff. So I guess online live streams and Twitch debates are very good at often influencing people's politics and making them go further to the left. And that is pretty undeniable. How much it does to how many people, who knows? But from, you know, anecdotal evidence from my own audience who, you know, do like Vaush and stuff, they say he has helped them move left. So it's clear these debates have some value, and like Vaush and my audience said as well, it gives you skills to debate these things yourself. And also I think Vaush's audience are a bit younger. I'm not saying they're all like 12 years old or something, but I do think a lot of these people, just because of the nature of his content being very, very long live streams, I think a lot of these people are either in school or in college and have a bit more free time. So I think that also helps with the edginess factor in him being their first taste of online politics, and maybe getting to people a bit earlier to inform them, like, you know, socialism isn't a dirty word, it's not bad and stuff like that. But like I outlined in the video, I think there are limits. I think if the person in the debate starts to become quite hostile and toxic from the off, it really doesn't help in the goal of moving people towards your side or destroying people's arguments. But again, I'm not saying you've got to like Destiny or Vaush or any of these debate bros, but I thought it'd be interesting to have a look and talk about the limits and the positives of this style of content, because me, myself, I'm not a debate bro. I've never done an online debate. I really do not have any interest to do one. And for a final criticism, because a lot of the time I feel like people get involved in leftist drama and do online debates when it's not really their place to talk on stuff. You know, the Pride stuff that has recently gone on, loads of people who are on these debate platforms, literally have no business being on them, and it all just feels like it's for Twitter drama and clout. And that's another problem, maybe for another video, where I do think there is this element of debates for clout and debates just to boost your brand and nothing else. I probably should have said this at the start of the video, but if you have a similar experience, please feel free to share in the comments. I will be reading. But that is it. If you want to follow me on social media, at the Kavernacle on Twitter and Instagram. If you want to support me on Patreon, check that out in the description. Come join the subreddit and the Discord. All that good stuff in the description. And if you made it this far, thank you for watching.